I'm going to be recording this again, so we can post it up for those that can't make it. This is our last and final coach seminar for our qualifiers. For teams that advance to the championship, we'll probably have something in February. Since we don't have a coaches meeting the morning of the event, we'll do one prior to the day itself. I just have some stuff to go over, some reminders, some stuff we kind of common things that came across at our first qualifier on November 18th. And then we'll open it up for questions from there. I hope everyone got to see the email blast that went out this morning. There's quite a bunch of stuff in there. Big thing I wanted to go over is kind of what to expect from timelines. We are hoping to post schedules by the Wednesday before each event at 12 noon. On track to do that for the remaining events this season. Team profiles are due Wednesday before each event at 6 p.m. That's when they go for printing. Occasionally we might pack for an event on a Thursday. In that case, you'll get an email saying you have an extra day, but do plan on getting it done the Wednesday prior, and all you need to do is just have it completed and submitted in my CVR with all of your paperwork, pictures, and whatnot, and we'll print it for you and put it in the judging crates for our judges. Practice table signups, you can sign up for 2 slots prior to the event. I think all of our remaining events have practice tables in the same rooms as pits because there's only one. At our Duncan event, practice tables are split in between 2, so it's important to make sure that if you are an event that has split practice tables, that you sign up for ones in the rooms closest to you, but I don't think that's going to be a case going forward. So you'll be able to, and my CVR won't cross-reference schedules for you, so it's important that you make sure that the times you sign up for are ones you can make. Surveys will go out after each event. It does help us to understand what happened, if anything happened on your end for a team, what we can do to improve, what went well, and so forth. Teams that advance will be able to register for the championship either right after closing ceremonies, but usually no later than Sunday evening afterwards. And then rubrics and score sheets should get posted no later than a week. Usually we get it done by the end of the weekend, but for Duncan it took us a little bit because of Thanksgiving break. And then all the awards, winners, and robot game scores are public and can be accessed through our public website. Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's see, what else? Oh, kind of new this year for our teams that participated last year, to kind of fall in line with the participation rules a little bit. My CVR locks rosters once you check in at a qualifier. So
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Michael.
Team rosters will lock. You can't edit them anymore after you check in at a qualifier. So, as kind of to be more in line with participation rules. That's important for teams that do advance the championship because per the first participation rules, if you advance, you're not really supposed to add any members at that point. So it's important that you get your roster stuff dealt with before then. Teams can reach out to CVR to make any changes as necessary, and they'll have to provide justification as to why. And again, award winners and, or I should say, rubrics and score sheets can be downloaded from my CVR. That's done on the events and results page. There's be a view rubrics and result button that'll appear, and you can hit that. Brings up a panel and you can download. Had some questions on our Facebook page or the coaches group this evening. Per kind of first guidance, rubrics can only be downloaded by representatives of that team. So you can't download rubrics for another team because they are kind of confidential information. However, what a team does with their rubrics after they downloaded them is up to them. If they want to share them, that's on them. And CVR, that's kind of not within our realm but it's important initially that it's only downloaded by the team itself. Also had a question about how many coaches can be in a room. We allow up to 4 coaches registered with a team. And with that, you have to do all the paperwork and stuff in MyCVR. So you have to upload the coach agreement, the consent release form, and all that, and we will print a coach badge for them. Anyone not wearing a coach badge is not allowed in any of the rooms. We do, at the Duncan event, we allowed video recording in all of the rooms during all the sessions. And for the core values activity, we just asked that teams not share the said video until after 2 o'clock when all the judging is completed.
So you say 4 coaches are allowed, up to 4 coaches are allowed even in the presentation and project presentation?
Correct.
Okay.
And the badges will be part of your team check-in packet when you check in the morning. And those have to be worn at all times. The referees will shoo any adults away that aren't wearing the coach badges, and the judges will not let any adults in that aren't wearing coach badges. So it's very important that those are worn at all times, and that if you have anyone that wants one, that we get the paperwork in advance. Let's see, anything else in this email I want to cover? So kind of some lessons learned from our event, our first qualifier. It's important for our judges, especially robot design judges, that you print your programming code, your either EV3 or NXT code, so that they can view it. In 10 minutes, it's really hard for judges to be able to evaluate programming code on a computer, because you have the computer app, all this stuff, and it kind of distracts from the rest of the session. And so a lot of our judges expect it to be printed and that they can look at it later after the session to evaluate programming merit. Just anecdotal stuff with the team talking about how they programmed doesn't truly do justice to what a team did, and teams frequently kind of find themselves docked for the programming section because they didn't provide code. So it's very important to print that. To kind of tangent on that a little bit, we've heard from a lot of teams that it's hard to print, they can't print, and CVR has not been able to replicate these situations. So one thing it'll be in a future email blast, but just so you all know it now, we're going to be just asking for teams to send in their code, their EV3 files to us, or their NXT files, so that we can just test and play around and see if we can replicate any issues when it comes to printing code or exporting, and maybe look at either tools or guides to help within the future. And it's just simple. Just email our contact@cvrobotics.org with your attached code, and we'll just take it from there. It won't impact judging or impact event day. It's just for us to investigate, but we want to get a sample of real code, not the code that we come up with, to see what we can do to help teams in the future. But
Michael, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Now, they can just bring these codes with them and hand them to the judges during judging?
Yes.
The printed code, okay.
Yeah. And we do know that, and the judges are kind of aware that frequently on event day, code changes because, things don't happen the way you expect. So they're aware of that. So it's kind of a up to where, the morning before what their code was like, and the kids can talk over what they changed or any challenges they had. If the code has changed since it was printed. But it's important that they at least have some sort of thing to reference. Let's see.
Michael, this is Emma. I was going to tell you, frequently when we try to print the code from the Mindstorm program, it comes up with an error message sometimes. I'll try to screenshot that. I take a picture with my phone to send you. And sometimes you or hit print, and then nothing happens. It like prints a blank paper instead of the code. So those are the problems that we've had.
Okay,
so
and
we've just had to print it over and over and over again until finally it spits something out, or sometimes just restart the whole Mindstorm program or restart the computer or in the printer, and then suddenly it spits it out and actually has the code on the paper. So it's very random why it's not working. I don't know. It's very mysterious.
yeah, the EV3 thing is based off of an application called LabVIEW, and that's quite an interesting beast of a software. So yeah, and if you could send the screenshots so that we know at least, and then we just want to get sample code as well from teams just to try and export ourselves. Maybe there's certain things in programs that teams should avoid, or maybe it's could be some other bugs that we can report to Lego and have them fix. So it could also be, 5 o'clock on a Sunday it doesn't work. Could also be the problem. No, we're just gonna see what we can do to help teams go forward. It also is kind of hard given that the programming software is on 4 or 5 platforms at this point.
Yeah.
Mobile phones, Chrome OS, Mac, PC, iOS, Android. So we're going to see what we can do to replicate errors and provide at least some best practices to teams to help going forward. So, and I surprised a couple teams doing this, but I'll probably doing it at all the other events as well. You might find me in your judging rooms filming or taking photos. That's just kind of for our record of the event. I'm kind of acting photographer at times, and so it's kind of nice to have those photos. For those that saw the video we posted on our Facebook page today, that was from the videos I took. So don't be surprised. It's just, and I kind of pick random teams to go in, especially this weekend when there's 12 judging blocks or 12 sessions and 44 teams. I might not be able to hit everyone, but just be aware that I may show up, or someone may show up in your room to take photos and film. So,
Michael, can I ask a question?
Sure.
This weekend, 44 teams. I was noticing there's only 2 practice tables that are going to be available.
There will be 4.
Okay.
Where did you see 2?
I thought that's what you had said, that there were 2 practice. I thought I saw 2 practice tables. Maybe I didn't. For some reason, it stuck in my mind because it caught my attention.
Yeah, we're planning on 4, so that's
okay.
Yeah, we typically target 1 practice table per 12 teams at the event. So, yeah. So Pam on her event map has 4, so we should be good for 4 there. You'll be able to sign up for. There'll be 4 slots for each session or time slot in my CVR come when practice tables sign up open. So let's see. Also be sure to read the season standards manual. It's kind of frustrating for CVR when we get a lot of survey feedback and all their questions were answered in the season standards manual. So be sure to read that. Does help alleviate a lot of surprises and issues, like the practice tables don't have free floating models on them. They only have the dual lock stuff, so if you want to practice, you got to make sure that you bring your own free floating models. Stuff regarding bringing your own practice table and the rules regarding that. That's all in the season standards manual. So, and there's also a checklist for those that want to make sure they're bringing everything. So that's, and then kind of more general announcement. If you're interested in the first tech challenge, this past weekend got confirmed that the first tech challenge qualifier on December 16th at Clovis North High School is a go. So we'll be posting that on our website and places to let people know about it. It will be a joint event, so the first LEGO League qualifier and the first Tech Challenge qualifier will run simultaneously at Clovis North that weekend. So it'll be cool if you're not attending that event. It'd be cool to come up and see what the kind of middle program of first is all about. First Tech Challenge is for students ages 12 to 18. Kind of acts as a bridge between First LEGO League and the first robotics competition. We only have, I think, 3 teams in the Valley for First Tech Challenge. So it is growing, and now that we have our own qualifier here, it probably will grow further. So yeah, that kind of covers everything I wanted to talk about. There any questions from anyone? I should check the RSVP form.
I had one, Michael, I wrote to you. I just wanted to verify. My kids, because they started in Junior LEGO League, want to do their trifold for their project. It is all right to bring in something like that to display for the project. Okay.
Yeah. However they wish to present is up to them. If they want to leave items for the judges, additional handouts other than the what's in the team profile, they're welcome to do so. We have a lot of people turn in either pamphlets from places they interviewed, or maybe they come up with their own kind of pamphlet they use to share with the community. That type of stuff is fine.
Okay, thank you.
And be aware of the water rules that are in the latest challenge update. I do need to check with Pam to confirm whether or not she wants any water. At Duncan, small portions of water, I forget what, there was a certain ounces limit that Doug, the event coordinator, limited, but there was allowed to bring water as part of your project. I will make that as a note to ask the other partners about that. And be sure to get that information to teams. Do plan on, if your project involves a demo of water, to not expect to be able to bring water, as just kind of a safety concern. We don't want to flood judging rooms. So, but maybe I'll work with our event coordinators to make sure if they're okay with small quantities of water being used in demonstrations. But yeah, be sure to read all the challenge updates. There were quite a few that came out at the beginning of November. I don't think there's any new ones that have come out yet, but yeah. Don't think there's any major things that happened in Robot Game at our Duncan qualifier. Nothing comes to mind. Nothing really major happened in all of our judging. Judging went pretty standard, which is good. And I should note that our judges are volunteers, and as much as we prepare them to follow process, sometimes they go a little off the book, and we try to catch it in advance. So do let your kids know that their judges will try their best to stay on the book, but sometimes they might go a little off script. So, any other questions?
Are all the events full, and are all the advancements and numbers the same, or if anything changed with that?
The advancement numbers that my CVR reports are current for now. I will always get teams that surprise me the night before saying they can't make it. But for now, we think all the events are going to be full or close to full. This weekend should be either a 43 or a 44. There's one team that's kind of on the fence right now. Next weekend for Central might also be a 23 or 24, depending on another team. And then the 36 at North should still be full. And that should not adjust advancement numbers very much. But if it does, we will announce that the morning of the event, during the final coaches meeting, which is something we recommend that everyone attends. We'll talk about the final number for advancement, the final number for the ranking cutoff, and all of that during that morning's event. We don't expect anything to change majorly, but yeah.
Michael, I have a question about the team. I understand that everybody who's on the team's name should be included, starting from the first qualifier to be able to move forward to the championship. My team this last week have had the whatever the Valley Crud is, but I've had several of them get sick. As long as I have their name on there, we come Saturday, 1-6 say, that doesn't mean if we went on the championship, the sick child would go ahead and participate at championship. Am I right? If they got well.
Correct. We understand if they're sick,
Okay.
or they sometimes some of them may have a conflict or
As long
whatever.
as we
Stuff
have all their
happens.
names on there.
It's yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understood right.
Yeah. And the kind of opposite is also true. If they make it to the qualifier and they can't make it to the championship, that's
Right.
also okay. We'll still leave their name on the roster. So
We've gone through almost everybody in the school, so hopefully we're on the men's here.
I don't know.
I tell you.
I caught that back in November. So thankfully I caught it before our qualifiers. So any other questions? Anything? Judging? The team members don't have to be there for check-in, only a coach. We do like teams to be there for opening ceremonies, but at a minimum, they need to be there for their first session, whenever that's scheduled to be. Given the way that our schedules and stuff work, you may end up with a significant break in the morning and not starting until maybe 10:30, 11, especially if you're in one of the later judging blocks. This weekend in particular does start earlier than a normal qualifier. It starts at 8 a.m. with check-in opening at 7 a.m. It kind of follows a championship style schedule because there's so many teams there. So judging will be done before lunch and that type of thing. But at other events, you might be your day might start later than everyone else, just given the way that our schedules work. If for whatever reason there is a need for a team to, like if you have a conflict in the morning or there's some medical or issue that judging should be aware of, we can put a team in a specific judging block if requested, if available. If we have 14 teams request 12 slots in a certain judging block, we'll have to kind of work around that. But we can work around scheduling conflicts if necessary to ensure at least we have most team members there for judging. Can't do much about robot game, but since you do have 3 shots, hopefully one of those times will work for everyone. If there is a student who has medical, behavioral, or whatever, then you want the judging team to be aware of that before the event, you're welcome to email that as well. And we treat those confidentially and tell our judges what they need to know to ensure a productive session. And then our judge advisor uses that in case any questions or stuff arise. Yeah. Any other questions? Going once? Okay, well,
I think we're all excited for qualifiers.
I know we're excited too. It should be our first event went very well. We had a lot of really good teams. The scores have been posted on our website. However, scores do tend to increase as our qualifiers go by, as teams have had more time to prepare. But you can see how teams did the first round, our first qualifier. I think our high score was 155 by the Smarter Doodles, and then our second place was 115 by the Red Rams. So some good scores. I think it went really well, and we're looking forward to seeing what our teams do for the rest of the season. And if your team does advance, particularly if you're at the Clovis North event, you only got about 6 days to register for championship because the deadline is December 22nd. We do want to get all of our registrations processed so any waitlist teams know before the holiday break if they have to prepare for championship. So do expect one final or maybe even a couple emails before each of your events coming from my CVR with stuff about when things are getting posted, weather, any other things that are particular or specific to a single event. So, yeah. Well, I think that's it for me. If there's no other final questions. Going once? Going twice? All right. Well, thank you all for attending tonight's call. Hope you guys have a great rest of the season. I'll get this recording uploaded to our YouTube channel and various places here shortly. So have a good rest of the season. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank